Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. I'm the Magi, and literally for years now I have been urging people on Arena to use value drafting as the most efficient way to build their collection on the platform. And the release of Murders of Karlov Manor is right around the corner, and with it is going to come play boosters. And well, folks, that is going to change drafting on Arena and in paper forever, and in my opinion is going to make value drafting once again the undisputed champion of building a value-oriented collection in Arena. Today we're going to talk about some of the facts there, the viewpoints, and most importantly, how to put it into action. But before we get into all that, take just a moment to like, comment, and subscribe, because that kind of thing really keeps this boat moving. Now, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, right. Alright, so most of this change has to do with the inclusion now of a refined list subset within these play boosters. These cards are not going to be present in packs that you buy from the store, and probably not included in store packs that you win from various limited events. These are only going to be included in the packs that you open as part of your participation in a limited event. And while we don't know exactly what these cards are going to be with regards to individual card selections, we do know more or less how the set or subset is going to look. We know that for Murders, there's going to be 10 cards that were all reprints from Magic history that fit thematically with the Murder set. In addition, we know that there will be 40 other reprint cards with new art. 30 of them are known to be commons and uncommons, and 10 of those will be higher rarity. So a total of 50 cards overall. We know that about 88% of the time you're going to get a common from the main set. About 10% of the time you're going to get a common or uncommon from the reprint list. And about 3-point-something% of the time, you're going to get a higher rarity card. Again, we don't know exactly what those cards are at the time of release, but of course I will be talking about highlight cards to be on the lookout for as part of my budget perspective video, and my patrons can also look forward to seeing a complete limited breakdown of all 50 cards, the ones you should be looking at and the ones that you shouldn't. If you've been around the Arena platform for really any length of time, I think everyone is pretty familiar with the idea of a store pack in which you get 1 higher rarity card, 2 uncommons, and 5 commons. And of course, when you buy store packs that are eligible for golden pack rewards, that higher rarity jumps up to about 1.6 rare/mythics per pack. If you've never done draft, you might not be aware that a draft pack is a little bit different from a store pack anyway. It will have still the 1 higher rarity, but will have 3 uncommons and 10 commons. However, when you tend to draft those draft packs, you end up with about 1.2 higher rarity cards, anywhere from 6 to 8 uncommons per pack, as well as few as 5 to 7 common cards. The reason being is you have some degree of selection within those packs. And of course, these values are all changing with the introductions of the new play boosters, because those could have as many as 4 higher rarity cards in a single pack. But before you get too excited, Wizards has already told us that the average will be about 1.4 higher rarity cards per pack. And when you model that out, you find that you'll probably end up with about 5 uncommons and anywhere from 6 to 8 commons, just depending upon how the other things shake out. However, when you draft that and you apply that same selection model, as we did to the prior draft pack conversation, you can pretty reasonably expect that your higher rarities will probably end up in the 1.6 rare mythic per pack range, or possibly even higher, probably looking in the neighborhood average of about 8 uncommons and as few as 3 to 4 commons. What you see here is a big shift up in value, and that is what's going to make drafting even more important moving forward than it's ever been before. Now, with those rates of return between buying for golden packs and value drafting play boosters looking so similar, you might find yourself thinking that it's very equivalent. And in fact, ever since golden packs were introduced on the Arena platform, I have heard the argument that I don't like drafting, so I'm just not going to do it. I am just going to save up all my gold and buy packs and build my collection that way. And again, you might think that it's very equivalent, but the reality is it's not. The cold hard facts is, if you were to give up an entire season of recommended value drafting versus just buying for golden packs, you'd be giving up about 87 uncommons and only picking up about 20 rares. And that might look like a great deal, but keep in mind, you're trading away cards here at more than a 4-to-1 value. And the truth is, uncommons are way more important than you think, especially when you compare them to a typical rare. A typical uncommon, particularly during the Arena era, is nearly twice as likely to see constructed play as a typical rare. Not to mention that with the new set builds introduced with murders, there's going to be 65% more uncommons compared to rares. And, well, that's a lot of ground you got to cover. The other argument that I see made quite a lot, frankly, is that value or rare drafting is just dumb, that everyone would be better off first picking the highly playable common or best card out of the pack, and don't worry about what rares that you get, because you'll just win enough more to make up the difference. And, well, let's take a look and see exactly how viable that is, because if you pass a rare and you don't want to affect the value of your collection, you need to win enough to replace that rare. And in a quick draft, that means opening up an additional pack, which, unless you hit 7 or get very lucky, is not going to happen within a quick draft. And that means your only salvation left is to win 200 additional gems that you could then buy a pack or use to try and buy your way back into additional drafts. So then one should ask, how difficult is it for a person in a quick draft to win an additional 200 gems? Well, if you're on the lower end of the spectrum and you typically average 0 wins, we're talking about a 50% win rate increase to get you up to 3 wins per draft. If you normally just hit 1 win, we're talking 25%. If you normally come in at 2, we're talking about 17%. To move from 3 to 5 wins would do it, and that takes about a 12.5% increase in your win rate. To go from 4 to 5 is only 5.4%, and to go from 5 to 6 is an even lower 4.2. However, to go from 6 to 7 and get that guaranteed second pack is nearly an 11.1% increase to your win rate. But hey, that can't be that hard, right? Like, there's a lot of really good first pickable common cards out there according to the pros. So there's got to be a ton of those options out there to help you get these increases in your win rates, right? Well, I took the liberty of pulling a year's worth of common play results off 17 lands. And, well, what I found was there were 10 commons that fell within this range. or 2.5% roughly of all of the commons released in Standard over an entire calendar year. And if you look closely at these individual cards, you'll see that almost all of them are removal, disruption, or card draw, or card advantage in some way or another. And most of them are blue and black in nature, which has to do more with the sets that were released and what was good and what was bad within an individual set. What I didn't find was a single piece of red removal, not a single green creature. We're really talking about the cream of the crop on these commons. And let's keep in mind the highest percentage was 6.1 added to your win rate, and that was with somewhat of an anomaly with Into the Fey Court. And these win rate percentage increases really only help you enough if you're already on the verge of pro level play, meaning you're hitting 4 or 5 wins on average per event. And well, let's face it, most of us aren't hitting that high to start with. So ultimately, the real answer is if you care primarily about the value of your total collection, don't pass the rare, because you're probably not going to make up the value by winning more. And well, if you are, you're probably already on the verge of being a pro to start with. Okay, so now how do we take all of these concepts and cautionary tales and put it together to come up with a plan of action, pick by pick, for your draft? And well, there's 3 main concepts that you need to keep in mind here with every single pick. Obviously, rarity is a factor, and we talked about that. Take the mythic. It's going to be much harder for you to replace than the common that you're passing, and it's very unlikely that that common is going to get you enough wins to replace the mythic or rare that you passed. The second concept is availability, and this is something that has gone up in value or will go up in value with these play boosters, again, because of the list. A regular set card is going to be much more available to us than a card that is from the list. And in fact, most of us following the plan can only expect to see maybe 65 or so list cards throughout our drafting. And that means anything that we don't pick up while drafting that we want, we're going to have to use wild cards to craft. And lastly, when all else is equal, you've got to be familiar with the power levels of the cards, because those late picks really need to punch above their weight to make up for the cards that we took strictly on other value factors. And hey, if you're not super confident in evaluating power levels for cards, particularly in new draft environments, I highly recommend and use myself the MTG Arena Assistant Artificial Intelligence Overlay. As you can see, it shows up on your screen in real time. It gives you an honest-to-goodness pro evaluation of every single card, the rating for that card by that pro, as well as an indication of how the AI that you are drafting against is picking that card, which can give you a clue as to what may wheel out of the pack and what may not. Heck, this thing even helps you build the deck based on your picks when you get done. So it's kind of a no-brainer here and will definitely improve almost anyone's game. And hey, don't worry, I'm not just pitching this because of some affiliate status. I literally have no financial incentive for you using this or not. And in fact, if you choose to use it, I'm now drafting against a better pool, and ultimately that will probably hurt me. So there you go. And before we go, I want to take just a moment to thank my totally awesome patrons for supporting me and allowing me to apply my passion into a community. And of course, before we go, I've got some suggestions for your next step.